Good evening. It's not Motzei Shabbos, it's Sunday. But yesterday was not possible. I was just really too not well. But even though I'm not well today and received some very not nice news, my decision is that I won't lose a single solitary second of the work that I need to do, as long as Hashem gives me some strength to do, I will. Yesterday's Parasha, Titze, has 74 mitzvot, which is 12% of all of the mitzvot in the whole Torah, in one Parsha. Unbelievable, incredible. And you know what? There is such brilliance, and there is such unbelievable wording that when you really are reading and you're thinking that this is 5,000 years, 3,000 years, 1,000 years, 500 years ago. Okay, you can't possibly perceive and conceive what Hashem gives us in the Torah, because it's totally and completely necessary for today. I mean, you know, we all read, we all hear things, we all pay attention, and there are people who learn more, learn less, but you know what? If you say to somebody that the idea of women's liberation comes from the Torah, and then they'll look at you and they'll say, "Are you kidding? What are you talking about?" But the truth is, an article of men's clothing may not be worn by a woman. And the actual verbiage of Torah is, an article of men's clothing may not be worn by a woman. A man may not wear an article of women's clothing. For whoever does these things is an abomination to God, your God. So, can you imagine? I mean, get this image. Here is Hashem making up 613 commandments, and he's thinking about women wearing men's clothing and men wearing women's clothing. And here we are in 2016, and when I was growing up and when I was in high school and when I was in college, who ever thought that Torah would talk about pants being men's clothing. I mean, yeah, obviously men wear pants and women wear skirts, but so there is a beautiful, beautiful sikha of the Rebbe on the 6th of Tishrei, 5745. Quite some time ago. And it's very, very interesting to hear his words. So I'm going to share them with you. The goal of women's liberation appears to be based on noble values, that women should not be given an inferior role to a man, for she too was created in the image of God, no less than man. In truth, however, women's lib has brought about the degradation of women by demeaning the unique talents and worth of women, suggesting that the only worthwhile choice is to act like someone else. This is highlighted by Torah's commandments. An article of men's clothing may not be worn by a woman and vice versa. The significance of this concept extends well beyond the appropriateness of garment and clothing. The Torah is teaching us that a woman cannot utilize her unique potential and enjoy the true satisfaction which that brings by trying to be like a man. A woman has a privileged task of imbuing her home with a truly Jewish atmosphere, and she alone has unique talents for rearing a family, thereby perpetuating the existence of the Jewish people. After a woman has finished this task, there is no harm in her pursuing a career amidst the air of modesty, which is a hallmark of Jewish women. But her true pride and joy is surely not found by liberating herself from the unique talents of womanhood. Femininity is not, God forbid, a weakness that needs to be overcome, but a divine distinction to be nurtured and cherished. Listen, I used to be a woman's liber, never to the extent of a lot of people, but I always thought that women had a great deal of potential and they should not be hampered in making that potential reality. At that time, I was, I came to America, I went to high school, I went to university, and the big women's lib movement was just right at that time. I'm talking about the 70s. I never thought about snares of modesty, but I was always modest. I never believed that women should show their goods, if you will, but not for religious reasons, but because I always felt that that was something very private and very special and reserved. What is visual in the world today has nothing to do with anything that I just said. And what we've created, what we have created in our society is an unholy atmosphere. Unholy in the way we behave, unholy in who we are, unholy in what we eat, unholy in how we dress, unholy in how we teach our children to behave, unholy in every respect of our lives. This Parasha talks about constructing guardrails. When you build a new house, you must make a guardrail for your roof. Do not allow blood to be spilled in your house when one who is destined to fall falls from your unprotected roof. I live in Eretz Israel. I have no guardrails on my roof. Why not? Really, why not? It's not thought about. We live in Eretz Israel. We don't think about it. Torah thinks about it. Could it happen? Yes, of course it can happen. And it happens all the time. You know, we talk about in this Parsha about violation of intimacy, prohibited marriages, defamation of a married woman, forbidden mixtures, care for another's property. Can you imagine that these are conversations of Torah? These are things that God, quote unquote, thought about when He gave us the Torah. These were things that He knew we were going to commit. We were going to arrive at the place where these commandments were necessary. These mitzvot were necessary, where we needed continual reminders of how He constructed the world, of how He built us, of what He expects from us, of what He wants from us, of what He asks from us. And because He asks it, He will give us what He promises. You know, we talk about children and parents. And Torah realizes, Hashem realizes that parents have problems with children and children have problems with parents. And there are answers in the Torah for everything. And Torah is very specific when it says, if you want to observe and your parents don't, it's your responsibility to walk away. It's your right to walk away. And it's your duty to serve Hashem. And the commandment, honor thy father and thy mother, is taken away for honor Hashem and follow his commandments. The rebellious son. If a man has a deviant and rebellious son who steals, eats meat and drinks wine excessively, and does not listen to his father or mother's voice, and when they reprimand him legally, he does not listen to them, his father and his mother should take hold of him and bring him out to the elders of the city, to the gates of justice in his locality. They should say to the elders of the city, this son of ours is deviant and rebellious. He does not listen to our voice. He is a binger and a boozer. All the people of his city should pelt him to death with stones, and you will eliminate this evil from among you. The court should publicize what has happened so that all Israel will hear what happened and be afraid. This is powerful beyond belief. Because today, if a child says to a parent, I don't love you because I don't have an iPhone, the parent goes out and buys the child an iPhone. Think about what Hashem says. We're talking about, obviously, the worst of all possible circumstances, but when you don't teach your children, and when you give into your children, and spoil them to the degree that we spoil our children, then you seriously cannot expect that they don't wind up with all the bad habits, with all the spoiled desires, with all of the negative influences that you offer them. Today you go to the mall and you see children speaking to their parents, demanding from their parents things. In my life, I would have never thought to speak to my father or to my mother in that way. Sometimes I do nothing else except sit at a table and watch the tables around me and eavesdrop on the conversations of people with their children. And it's very, very rare that I hear a parent reprimand a child and say to a child, explain to a child, educate a child of why a certain thing can't be done, can't be bought, can't be eaten, why you shouldn't behave in the way that you're behaving. Why is that? Are we afraid of our own children? Or don't we care? Or is it too hard to undo what we've done? And now it's too late because the problem has already been done. The problem is not undoable. And it's my belief that we have created the problems. So we are the ones that have to resolve them. There was an article that was sent to me by Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Jacobson. And actually, it was so painful for me to read this article because it talks about how many children, how many young people under the age of 35 have committed suicide in the Jewish community. And he writes, and I quote, "The last few months have seen a staggering number of untimely deaths of young people in the Jewish community. Close to 80 suicides have been reported since last Rosh Hashana, all by young men and women under the age of 35. Under the age of 35. In the flower of their youth, in the flower of their life, in the flower of Hashem's creation. They, with their own hand, decide to make an end to their life." Now, what brings you to that point? What brings you to that point when you've been in a proper home and you have been properly educated and you have been engaged in the proper values, when you have learned how to live in a godly society, but obviously that isn't the case, is it? When you get to the point that you decide that you have the right to take your own life that in the first place is not yours because it belongs to Hashem. Hashem endowed you with a neshama, a soul, and that soul belongs to Him. You decide, no, it doesn't belong to Him, it belongs to me. And when I decide that I don't want to live anymore in this world, and I have obviously good reason, I am going to take that life into my own hands, and I am going to end it. I want to be absolutely certain that you hear again what he writes. The untimely deaths of young people in the Jewish community. The Jewish community. The community of Torah. The community of godliness. The community of lamplighters. The community who was blessed and chosen by Hashem. The community that is the crème de la crème of the world. 80 neshamas. 80 neshamas since Rosh Hashana last year, out of the community of holy people, the community of priests, the community chosen by Hashem as His children, take their own life. To me, everything that is written in the article is totally superfluous. The only thing that makes any sense to me is that we have no clue of what is causing this kind of destruction. This kind of destruction in our people. And I don't know if he's talking about America or if he's talking about Israel or if he's talking about the world. But he asks, how do we respond to this? Well, he responded in one way, and I will respond in another way. And my response is 613. For every single reason that somebody would commit suicide, there is one mitzvah. For every single reason that somebody can come up with and say, I don't want to live anymore, there is a prohibition that he's not following, or a mitzvah that he's not doing. And that prohibition and that mitzvah may just be the one that we, as parents, have not taught our children, have not spent the time to explain to our children why you do not mix wool with linen. Why is this important? Why does a woman who is married and loses her husband take off her shoe? What does it mean to eradicate the descendants of Amalek? What does it mean to remember what Amalek did to the Jewish people when they came out of Egypt? What does it mean not to forget what Amalek did to the Jewish people when they came out of Egypt? Why one who wishes to divorce his wife must do so with a get? Why not to borrow at interest from a Jew? Not to punish a person who was forced to transgress? That a rapist must marry his victim? You know, sometimes it's difficult to look at these things and think, what does this have to do with me? Why should I bother talking about these things to my children? You know why? Because that's what Hashem asked for. That's why he gave the commandments, and that's why he gave the mitzvahs, and that's why he gave the prohibitions, and that's why we have the blueprint of life, and that's why we are the chosen, and that's what is expected of us. We're in the month of Elul. We're a week away, week and a half away. No, today's Yom Rishon, so we're a week away from Rosh Hashana. There is a time, and Hashem is very, very good to us. He gives us a time in which to make up for everything that we did or didn't do during the year. And he gives us the opportunity to re-evaluate, restructure, re-comprehend, rededicate ourselves to what he's asking from us. He gives us a time for slichas, gives us a time to ask for forgiveness. He gives us a time to look at ourselves personally, privately, inside, where nobody sees except He, where you turn to yourself and you say, what have I done? What have I not done? How did I behave this year? What words did I use? What did I teach? What didn't I teach? Every day is a gift. Every day is another opportunity to rise to the potential of being a human being. I ask you all for your prayers. I got some very not nice news today regarding my health. I ask for Hashem's blessings. I ask for Hashem's guidance. And I ask you to keep me in your hearts, and perhaps something that I've said, something that I've brought to you, something that Hashem gave me to say to you, will have made a difference. So may that something bring joy and happiness and change and tshuva into our new year. May we see blessings and may we see nachat, and may we live to see Hashem's children all at home together in Eretz Yisrael with Mashiach Tzidkenu mamash right now. I send you blessings. I send you love. Amen, amen.